What's the went through med school just to realize you couldn't stand the sight of blood of your job field? Went through nursing school only to figure out I can't stand vomit. Just vomit though. I can stand blood, feces, urine, biliary drainage, pulmonary secretions, etc. There's just something about vomit. I find every nurse has one particular fluid or discharge they despise. Edit. The nurses I've had the pleasure of knowing. Vomit is totally the reason I never went into nursing. Nurse here with the same problem. Can clean a patient head to toe covered in poop and whistle a tune. As soon as I hear them gagging, I'm out. Well, I'm a phlebotomist, so never had anyone who ended up not being able to stand the sight of blood, but it had several people who couldn't do other specimens collected or received in the lab urine, stool, sputum, etc. Also people who were surprised that most of our draws would be kids, the elderly, chemo and dialysis patients, all notoriously difficult draws, and thought everything would be exactly like it was in school. I've had new people in the hospital when I was there tell me they won't attend the code blues because they can't see anyone die. Like, it's a hospital. People are in bad shape and die in it. Medlab tech year, to be fair, school did not prepare us for how sick or frail people in a hospital would be. We practiced on each other all semester. I went to my practicum and bam, a 14-year-old kid on chemo. Got me in the feels. I'm better now, don't have to collect at my site. Got a prestigious degree in finance and economics, realized I sincerely hate the type of people who work in IB finance. Edit. Not all of them of course, but you all know that guy who thinks Wolf of Wall Street is a documentary about him. Yeah, me too. Masters in economics with absolutely no economic markets intuition. I have no idea how I managed to finish. I hate it, the field and the people. Should have studied medicine, the only thing I find interesting. I regret it so much every day. Can do it over because the government made rules about not getting another education at the same graduated level or lower the first 6 years after graduating. It sucks. We're not all bad, but the decent ones are few and far between. Search out the ones whose eyes scream out, "Are you fucking kidding me?" in every meeting. I teach English to kids aged 3 to 9 in China. I can't tell you how many people I've met while teaching abroad that either can't stand kids and are constantly complain about how the country is so different from their own, considering being able to handle children and adapt to new surroundings are two of the biggest requirements to do the job. My friend taught in China for a year with TEFL and said a lot of her colleagues just treated it as a cheap way to travel and party and didn't really care about the kids at all. To be fair, most schools who hire random out of TEFL programs just want to put 1 hour a day with a native English-speaking teacher on their school's pamphlet for prospective new students. Their professional Chinese teachers are gonna teach the kids school English. They couldn't give a rat's ass what the Lao does. Not true for all schools, just a lot of them. There's quite a few pilots that are scared of heights. Yes, but that doesn't really stop them from doing the job. It's not like they're staring down a huge drop all of the time. I used to work as a flight instructor. Flying in a typical, old small Cessna, you got a flimsy door and a simple seatbelt holding you in. In certain training maneuvers, if the door latch is crappy, it can pop open. The wind keeps it from swinging open more than a few inches, but whenever it did, I quickly found out who didn't like that one bit. I'm afraid of heights and a pilot, and I don't think it's because I don't see the ground often, but more so because the plane feels like it's separated from the rest of the world. When I'm flying, I don't really feel like I'm high up, and I don't really have any fear of the height. I've had a few occasions where I almost met the ground in a not so friendly way, and even then I didn't really worry about the height. Training kicked in, and I just dealt with the situation. Had a teacher in my nautical academy that found out he was chronically seasick. My son's teacher had been in the Coast Guard, but found out she got seasick. She ended up doing something with supplies so she could stay off the ships. Honestly, the number of sailors in the Navy who get seasick super easy was kinda surprising to me. Edit. Okay, wow, I did not expect my comment to blow up like this. But to clarify, obviously seasickness isn't something people can get tested for, but it's just interesting to see how many people need to get the meds from medical the second we got out of port. Edit 2. I actually love the rocking. When I was on a DDG, the rocking put me right to sleep after a 12-hour watch. Most people in the US who joined the Navy have never been on a boat in their lives, or even seen the ocean for that matter. How would they know until their first time? I never got a seasickness test while going through MEPS or boot camp. Had a couple people find out at boot camp when I went in 2013. I think just about everyone had some kind of propensity for seasickness on my ship, depending on how bad the waters were. For me, it was usually just the first day out to sea that was rough. As long as we weren't in some crazy weather, I was fine after that. I'm an ocean engineering and naval architecture student. There's way too many students in my class who have never been on a boat before, and I'm just waiting until we take a field trip and someone throws their guts up. Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson of the British Royal Navy also suffered from chronic seasickness. This reminds me of the Calvin and Hobbes comic. You know how Einstein had bad grades as a kid? Mine are even worse. Yes, I know that Einstein had very good grades as a kid, so did Jackie Fisher, who is often considered the second most important figure in British naval history, after Lord Nelson. I work in a pathology bacteriology lab, so basically if you're at all squeamish, you've got no chance. I took swabs from a chunk of necrotic tissue on my second day, and I'll never look at fried mushrooms the same way again. I was in a physiology class once where in the first week we had to eat sandwiches while standing around an open corpse because the teacher didn't want us wasting time and money on the class if we were squeamish. Edit. Y'all, it wasn't a fresh unprepared body, and we weren't in physical contact with it. Calm down. That's actually very thoughtful and practical of the prof. Better to know your physical limitations sooner. Many people become a lawyer only to discover they hate practicing law because they didn't really understand what that meant when they went to law school. Law is very boring, involves a lot of minute rote work which has little practical effect on a case, and is ultimately soul-sucking. Being a lawyer involves very little grandstanding in courtroom. Many lawyers never do that. Even trial lawyers, like you see on TV, only get a couple trials a year at best, and some go years between trials. The only kinds of lawyers in court every day are criminal attorneys. When they say crime doesn't pay, they mean it especially for criminal attorneys. We talking a criminal attorney or a criminal attorney. Take it easy, Saul. Anyone who is considering law school needs to go work at a firm first, even if it means working for free. Do this in undergrad before it's too late to switch to a useful major in case you don't like it. In fact, get a useful degree in the first place in case it doesn't work out. Don't forget writing. I've been in civil litigation for a year, and I've written more in that year than I wrote in college and law school combined. Found out I hate writing, and that is all litigators do really. My career is writing perpetual term papers. Haha. I thought I would hate litigating. I never wanted to go to court. But I loved writing, so ended up litigating. I am fine with court and love briefing and investigation. I can't think of doing anything else now. I was a criminal defense and family law attorney for 10 years, and the best parts of the job were trials. They happened rarely and usually only when the facts were so one-sided that I had to be all offense or all defense. People also treat you like a personal wizard or life coach. They want you to solve all their problems, but they don't realize that the law is really only there for specific things. People used to get mad when I said the court won't literate their breakup. That being said, there's nothing in this world like a death penalty trial. Or a 20-defendant federal RICO case. Or a simple assault case with an honest-to-God, cowboy self-defense claim. Honestly, I would go back in a second if I could just do the courtroom stuff, but the paperwork, client management and court schedules is not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. I will always believe that I spent my 20s well sparing in court and warring with verbs. I'm glad I'm out and I'm glad I left before I burned out. Seriously though, being lawyer is dull, rote, and somehow stressful. Unless you want to be a litigator. Then it's just plain stressful. Good times. My brother-in-law went through seminary and got a job as a youth pastor, only to find he absolutely could not speak in public. He does construction now. I mean, one of the best pastors in the world was a carpenter. He should start a business called St. Joseph's Carpentry. Harrison Ford? So OP's brother-in-law is basically the Antichrist because he went the opposite way. Sound engineer. I'm sensitive to loud noises. Should have thought that one through. You probably have a future as a corporate AV tech for talking head though, if you can stand it. I rarely do anything that goes above 85 decibels on those gigs. You do have to be able to stand talking head gigs and talentless middle managers though. Also stupid early call times, 14-hour days, and clients who ask the impossible. Call times is the only one really unique to corporation AV, and some people are mourning people who have an easier time of it. Went to school for firefighting, had a classmate drop out because he was afraid of heights. I work with a firefighter with a fear of heights. He has never had a problem at a call, but he freezes when walking 5 stories up with a minimum guardrail. When it's rubber meets the road time, first responders abandon their fears because they know it'll lead to failure if they stop to think about them. This is me. The medical term for what I have is a bowel opening fear of heights. But on a run, I've never had an issue. In training, I freeze up. Even on tall staircases or really tall buildings and I'm too close to a window. Balconies are a deal breaker. Got a master's in psychology. Don't like people. What a bunch of bastards. Master's degree in clinical counseling. I hate people but love my job. Generally, people are shit and the worst. Individually, they have so much context and are so interesting. Social work masters and same. At first it seemed like such an easy choice for me. I love people, I love helping people. You know, it's not all about making money. Making a difference, that's what I want. If I could go back in time I would slap myself so fucking hard. Fucking idiot. Started my own freelance business, then realized I hate people, I hate kissing ass, and I hate stressing about clients paying on time. Running your own business is hard. You never really have downtime, and even though you make your own schedule you never stop thinking about work or stressing about your business. I worked as a photographer for about 10 years. Most everybody was great, but that 5% of problem clients were the worst thing ever. Personally, I hate paperwork. And I hate calling and asking people to pay their invoices or sending late payment notices and such. Especially if they were a major magazine where the editor I worked for knew everybody in the industry. Sending someone like that a late payment notice felt like shooting myself in the foot. Heard a consultant tell me that owning your business meant 2 things. 1. You're trading the illusion of security for the illusion of freedom. 2. Only working half days. You just get to pick which half. I can't stand tracking people down for invoices. And I had such a hard time enjoying my honeymoon because I was working on trying to get a big client right before it. The client is super cool and really would have wanted me to enjoy my honeymoon, but when your livelihood depends on it, it's hard not to think about it all the time. My wife, thankfully, is an incredibly understanding woman. I went to massage school with a girl who realized she didn't want to touch people for a living. I knew someone like this, felt all the touching was too intimate for her, so then she went to get her esthetician license, thinking she would just do facials. Turns out 99.9% of entry esthetician jobs involve a lot of bikini waxes. I'm an esthetician. I do not want to do Brazilians. Didn't realize this until I was hired at a well-known speed waxing chain known for its Brazilians. Got through the training and dipped. I've been working for a spa for the past 2 years, primarily doing actual facial services, microderm, chem peels, and I love it. Human resources. Went through school to realize I couldn't lay someone off. Honestly, terminations for cause are pretty bad, but at least they did something to cause it. I'm talking about downsizing edit. Typo. My uncle was a VP for HR for a large multinational corporation. He was told he would keep his job and that he and his entire team would be moved to a new factory. He was tasked with downsizing, then closing a factory of 2,200 people. It took 2 years. In the end, they canned his entitled team as well. He said he cried almost every night when doing the job. Would have jumped to another company, however it was during a huge recession, and he had 4 daughters that would not want to move from Rochester. This happened at a chain of bars I used to go to. They told the manager to fire all of her friends, then they fired her too. Really shitty thing to do. If you are going to fire an entire staff of people including their boss, don't make their boss burn the bridges for you. The owner of that chain of bars just so happens to be a really scummy used car salesman, and I think he also owns some shitty loan shark places. There isn't a single bad business he's not involved in, LOL. Bartending. Going through years and years of being hazed by co-workers and regulars, constantly being given the shittiest jobs, sometimes literally in the entire bar, all the back pain from stocking heavy ass shit, being the last one to leave almost every night. All that just to find out you don't like dealing with people at all, especially when they're drunk that or you're sober, which I've seen a couple times and just seems awful. Yep, I'm a cocktail waitress so it's a bit different, but I bartend when the bar needs help. All my close friends work behind the bar so I'm pretty familiar with it. But I've recently learned I really hate drunk people if I'm not drunk. We make lots of money off private parties, and I've also come to realize I truly hate them, bachelorette parties in particular. Lots of people that believe they need to be treated extra special because they're wearing a plastic tiara and will tip me $5 at the end of the night. Spend a lot of time honing my voice and manner skills because I seem to have a talent for customer service. The only problem is I figured out that I hate people in general. Customer service will do that to anyone. Some people just lose every ounce of decency when facing customer service. Same here. I'm really good in customer service roles, but I cannot stand the general public. I can fake it from 9 to 5, but gave it up and went to university to study zoology as I like wildlife and was sick of the bullshit. Going to school for vet nursing or veterinary med, and then realizing you are scared of certain animals like mice or rats. Edit. You also have to be able to separate individual behaviors of individual animals from a whole species. Inevitably you will be scratched, bitten or injured by a stressed animal. I have several scars, but I separate those experiences from other animals of the same species, and I've also learned how to handle and read their body language better, even small animals like rats and mice. Thrilled about all the responses. It is a challenging profession, and not everyone is able to go through putting animals down or having to cause a bit of pain to heal them in the end, so many people don't finish the degree, but that's the same with many professions. Love you, Reddit. I took my pet rat into the emergency vet once. It was obvious she was terrified of rats. I could see her psych herself up every time she had to handle my pet. And she did it. Sucked it up and saved my baby's life. I was even more grateful than I would have been normally because it was obvious she was fighting through her phobia. Being a mover, we would frequently go through new hires that can't hang. You would laugh at how many times we've walked into a house and the new guy goes, "We have to move all of this?" And I go, "Yay," twice. Or when a customer asks to move one thing again because they found a new spot, or there is a couch at the new place to move. I see people just get disheartened and annoyed. Bitch, that's our job. You are here to move people's things until they do not need you to move their things anymore. You are also getting paid by the hour, so STFU. Moving attracts some amazingly hard-working and kind people, and also bottom-of-the-barrel degens. Every day is interesting, LOL. Edit. Instead of commenting thank you 100 times, I just want to say it warms my heart to read the nice things you all are saying about movers. I'll read every reply. We don't usually have the best of reputations, and it's refreshing to hear people appreciate us, so thank you all. Every time we've moved I say to wife, people who do this for a living deserve a fucking medal. Bless you. I hope to someday be wealthy enough to afford to have you move my shit cause fuck I hate it. My friend applied to be in the RAF. Failed the medical because he is colorblind. This was the first he knew about it. He was 21. I worked with a guy in his 30s who used to always wear blue or purple pants. We tried to figure out the pattern because the purple ones came out when he was excited about something. One day we asked why he always wore purple pants when he was happy celebrating, and he was like, "What?" Turns out they were just his favorite pants, and he was blue-purple colorblind and had no idea. This is adorable. I'm imagining him getting up on his birthday like, "Best put these on today. These are my happy pants." I was dead set on being a video game developer. Started in QA, saw the endless hours of crunch, the devs working 80+ hour weeks without showers or shaving, smelled the funk of hundreds of unwashed bodies, the crossed fingers at reaching publisher milestones for bonuses that would hopefully make it all worthwhile, and the constant fear that they wouldn't get picked up for the next project so they could keep getting paid and keep making mortgage payments. Decided that I'd rather be in systems in lieu of development and never looked back. I've been in the game industry for 13 years, and my advice to people wanting to get into this industry has always been, have a backup plan. I'm lucky that I'm in a fantastic place now with great work-life balance, but it was not an easy path, and a lot of colleagues have since switched to other industries. Going to film school then working on a reel set. Learning the hierarchy and the unions, many moving pieces, and politics really makes you start to hate the industry and really turns you off. Ask a person in film and TV production, how long have you been working in the industry? Most people's response? Too long. Edit. Wording. People really need to do an internship on an actual film set while in school or even forego school entirely. School will never prepare you for 18-hour days where you sit only once, and if you're in a place with brutal winters where you go 3 months out of the year without any sort of income. It might be brutal, but the craft services spread definitely helps. Knowing work provided breakfast, lunch and dinner every day really motivated me to get to work. I loved the idea of being a 50s housewife. Staying at home, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, having a husband who worked till 5 and came home. Now the house is always spotless, making meals is down to a science because of meticulous planning, so I have nothing to do. And my husband comes home and goes straight to his computer as soon as he's home, and anything I try to say to him is met with a, "I can't hear you" because of his headphones. I'm not sure I can do this for much longer, and I'm afraid of what's going to happen when I snap from being unable to talk to anyone over the age of 6 about what I'm feeling. Find other moms. Make a night where you can meet with them for a couple hours. Nothing crazy or expensive is necessary, but damn, there's nothing like a bitching session with people who just get you. I have a professional group that I do this with. I wouldn't get along with them in any other context, but for 90 minutes once a week they're my therapists. But just in case you haven't heard it recently, you're doing a great job. I got a PhD doing biomedical research. When I got to my postdoc, I had to conduct animal studies, which involved sacrificing rodents to harvest tissue. I couldn't do it. I refused to do it. Other investigators would have a good laugh at my expense. Both my grad and postdoc advisors said I'd have to get over this animal rights attitude if I wanted to be a scientist in this field. But the joke's on them. I now have my own research lab that specializes in developing non-invasive biomedical research techniques to reduce the need for animal studies. Results we find are more consistent and relevant to humans, which should lead to a better chance of drugs studied with these techniques successfully making it to and through human trials. I like this one lots. Good on you. Seriously? Thank you for the research you do. That's hugely important for both the humans and the non-human subjects.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Tell me what you dislike or love about this video, so please comment below and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video is released. This is a WeCrow Media production.